Chapter 3. Fitting and Reeving Running Rigging. Fore braces. Main braces, cross-jack braces, fore, main, and mizzen topsail braces, fore, main, and mizzen topgallant and royal braces, trusses, topsail ties and halyards, topgallant and royal halyards, peak and throat halyards, spanker brails, fore and main tacks and sheets, topsail, topgallant, and royal sheets and clewlines, reef tackles, clew garnets, fore and main bunt lines, leech lines, and slab lines, topsail clew lines and bunt lines, bowlines. To reeve a brace, begin on deck, and reeve to where the standing part is made fast. The fore braces reeve up through a block on the mainmast just below the rigging, down or in through the brace block on the yard or at the end of the pennant, and the standing part is brought through the cheeks of the mast with a knot inside. The neatest way for reeving the main brace is out through a single block on the brace bumpkin, out through the brace pennant block, in through an outer block on the bumpkin, and seize to the strap of the pennant. Another way is out through the bumpkin block, out or down through the pennant block, and secure the end to the bumpkin or to the fashion piece below. The cross-jack braces reeve up through the blocks on the after shroud of the main rigging, up through blocks on the yard, 1/3 of the way in from the yard arm, and are seized to a bolt in the mainmast, or to the after shroud again. The fore topsail braces reeve up through the blocks secured to the bibs at the main masthead, in through the span block at the collar of the mainstay, up through the block on the yard, and are seized to the main topmast head, or else up through a block at the topmast head, down through the brace block on the yard, and are seized to the collar on the mainstay. The last way is the best. The main topsail braces are rove through span blocks at the mizzenmast, below the top, up through the blocks on the yard, and are seized to the mizzen topmast head, or else up through a block at the mizzen masthead, down through a block on the yard, and secured to the mizzenmast. The first way is the best. The mizzen topsail braces reeve up through the leading blocks or fair leaders on the main rigging, up through blocks at the main masthead or at the after part of the top, up through the yard blocks, and are seized to the cap. The fore and main topgallant braces are rove up through blocks under the topmast crosstrees, in through span blocks on the topmast stays just below their collars, up through the blocks on the yards, and the main are usually seized to the head of the mizzen topgallant mast, and the fore to the topmast stay, by the span block. The mizzen topgallant braces generally go single through a block at the after part of the main topmast crosstrees. The royal braces go single, the fore through a block at the main topgallant masthead, the main through one at the mizzen topgallant masthead, and the mizzen through a block at the after part of the main topmast crosstrees. Halyards. The lower yards are now hung by patent iron trusses, which allow the yard to be moved in any direction, topped up or braced. Topsail yards have chain ties. The topsail yards have chain ties, which are hooked to the slings of the yard and rove through the sheave hole at the masthead. The other end of the tie hooks to a block. Through this block a chain runner leads, with its standing part hooked to an eye bolt in the trestle tree, and with the upper halyard block hooked to its other end. The halyards should be a luff purchase, the fly block being the double block, and the single block being hooked in the channels. Sometimes they are a gun tackle purchase, with 2 large single blocks. The lower block of the mizzen topsail halyards is usually in the mizzen tops, the fall coming down on deck. The fore and mizzen topsail halyards come down to port and the main to the starboard. The topgallant halyards come down on opposite sides from the topsail halyards, though the fore and main usually come down by the sides of the masts. The fore and main topgallant halyards sometimes hoist with a gun tackle purchase, but the mizzen and all the royal halyards are single. The throat and peak halyards of the spanker are fitted in the following manner. The outer peak halyard block is put on the gaff. 1/3 of its length from the outer end, or a very little, if any, within the leach of the sail, and the inner one 2/3 in. The blocks are fitted round the gaff with grommet straps, and are kept in their places by cleats. The double block of the peak halyards is strapped to the block. The double block of the peak halyards is strapped to the bolt in the after part of the mizzen cap, and the halyards are rove up through this, in through the blocks on the gaff, the inner one first, the standing part made fast to the double block, and the fall coming on deck. The upper block of the throat halyards is secured under the cap, and the lower block is hooked to an eye bolt on the jaws of the gaff. This is a twofold tackle. The spanker brails. The peak brails reeve through single blocks on the gaff, 2 on each side, generally span blocks, and then through the throat brail blocks, as leaders to the decks. The throat brails reeve through 2 triple blocks, strapped to eye bolts under the jaws of the gaff, 1 on each side, through the 2 other sheaves of which the peak brails lead. Each brail is a single rope, middled at the leach of the sail. Tacks, sheets, clewlines, etc. It is much more convenient to have the tack and sheet blocks of the courses fastened to the clews of the courses by hooks. Then they can be unhooked when the sail is furled, and in light weather, a single rope with a hook, called a lazy sheet, can be used, instead of the heavy tacks and sheets with their blocks. This is also much more convenient in clewing up. The main tack is rove aft through the block in the waterways, forward through the block on the sail, and the standing part hooks to the block on deck. The foretack goes through a block on the bumpkin. The sheets of the courses have the after block hooked to an eye bolt in the side, abaft the channels, and the forward one hooked to the clew of the sail, the running part reeving through a sheave hole in the rail. The sheets of all the square sails but the courses run from the clew of the sail, through sheave holes in the yard arms, through the quarter blocks, down on deck. The topsail sheets are clasped to the clews of the sail, and are fitted with a gun tackle purchase at the foot of the mast. The topgallant and royal sheets are single. The topsail and topgallant clewlines reeve through the quarter blocks. The royal clewlines are single, and the topsail and topgallant are a gun tackle purchase. The reef tackles of the topsails reeve up through blocks on the lower rigging, or futtock shrouds, down through the block on the yard, down the leach of the sail, and through the block on the leach, and are made fast to the yard on their own parts, with a clinch, outside of everything. The clew garnets reeve out through blocks, under the quarters of the yards, then up through blocks at the clew, and the standing part is made fast to the yard, to the block, or to a strap. The bunt lines of the courses reeve through double or triple blocks under the forward part of the top, down forward of the sail, sometimes through thimbles in the first reef band, and are clinched to the foot of the sail. The leach lines reeve through single blocks on the yard, and are clinched to the leach of the sail. The slab line is a small rope rove through a block under the slings of the yard, and clinched to the foot of the sail. This is not much used in merchant vessels. The topsail clewlines lead like the clew garnets of the courses. The topsail bunt lines reeve forward through single blocks at the topmast head, down through the thimbles of a lizard seized to the tie, just above the yard, and are clinched to the foot of the sail. The handiest way of reeving the main bowline is to have a single rope with the standing part hooked near the foremast, and reeve it out through a heart in the bridle. This will answer for both sides. The fore bowline may be rove through a single block at the heel of the jib boom and hooked to the bridle. The bowlines to the other sails are toggled to the bridles and lead forward. Many vessels now dispense with all the bowlines except to the courses. This saves trouble, makes a ship look neater, and if the sails are well cut, they will set taut enough in the leach without bowlines.